Costco can be a great place to shop. They sometimes have some terrific deals. Other times you're buying a 5-gallon drum of toothpaste, and that's a little excessive. But as far as meats go, their steaks and their roasts are really good. And when they get near the expiry date, they take them out back, grind them up, and they make ground beef with it. And this makes the best burgers. And I'm going to show you how this is done on this little life hack. So I've got half a cup of onion powder, garlic powder, Worcestershire sauce, and sriracha. If you want a little bit more mild, I don't think these are that spicy, but you can use Frank's instead of the sriracha. Got about 4 cups of panko crumbs, as well as 6 eggs. So my technique for making burgers is quite simple. I mix all the spices and seasonings and eggs and everything all together, and then I add the meat later. And the reason why I do this is you don't want to touch your meat too much, because if you beat your meat, it becomes dry. And what's the trait of a good burger? A juicy burger. So you want it to be as moist as possible. So once we have our spices mixed up, then we can add our meat. And now, as far as mixing the spices into the meat, I use the old folding method. So I simply keep rotating it in. And because the spices, they're all mixed together with the panko and it's kind of an off color, you can kind of visually indicate on what the distribution is like as far as your seasonings go. And once we hit an appropriate heterogeneous mixture, we know that it is done. And then we can start our second process, which is making our burgers proper. Now I do kind of a weird technique here where I cook my burgers as an entire sheet pan and then cut them in squares, kind of like a Wendy's burger, but I think Wendy's, they just have pre-cut burgers and they fry them as squares. But I just distribute the meat, kind of give it a little bit of a press in place on parchment paper, because if it's not on parchment and it sticks, it will tear itself apart when it shrinks. And then we bake it, and I'm going to cook this at 300 degrees for about an hour. Pour the grease off the top, and then I can begin my cutting process. And what I like to do with these burgers is I cut them up, and then I can freeze them, and then whenever I want a burger, I've got a whole bunch already made up, and it takes all the work out of it. If you're having people over or something, you can also time it so that you just cut the burgers and serve. That works pretty good as well. And if you cook them and then refrigerate them, then have to reheat them, you can always use like the broiler to kind of make light work of that. But kind of using the bun here as a guide for determining the size, and there we go. There's our burger. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, stay awesome.